I am Ana Falu. I'm Argentinian. I am a professor and a researcher at the National University of Córdoba in Argentina, but also I am contributing to UN Habitat as an expert on gender and habitat and urban issues, and coordinating a gender hub within UN Habitat. My field of work for many, many years has been housing, low-income housing. But lately I would say the last 10, 15 years, I've been working more in women in cities, women and services and urban services, women and security, that is to work at the violence, public spaces, and women. The continuum of violence that women suffer in the private and the public spheres, in the private domain, and in the public spaces. So that is the field of work I've been involved, and lately I'm also going more in deep in trying to identify more specifically the barriers for planning, rethinking planning from women's eyes. So that is my field of research and my field of work. Well, I've been the chief for the Andean region of UN Women. It was UNIFEM at the time. And after I was the chief of the office for UN Women Today in Brazil and the southern cone countries, that is Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, and Paraguay. And that was a fantastic experience, an experience of learning the territories, the organizations, the feminist women movements, and the governments. That was fantastic experience.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Amazing when you can do things, yeah? And we did a lot with all the, of course, the staff and the articulation with the networks and the experts. It was a fantastic experience. Well, I was invited to contribute to this chapter 5 that is on urbanization, and that is coordinated by Saskia Sassen and Edgar Pierce, from very fantastic leading people with a lot of experience, knowledge spread all over the world. So I'm very proud of this invitation, and I hope to contribute to this chapter, which is a singular chapter that we need to mainstream also to others, because we are living in each day a more urban world, particularly when you come from Latin America. I'm coming from a region that is an urban region. According to ECLAC, we have 82% of the population living in cities, even when the majority is still living in the middle-sized cities. We have the most huge metropolis within the huge metropolis of the world, the metropolis of Latin America, Mexico City, Sao Paulo, the metropolitan area of Buenos Aires, etc., etc. So the majority of the population is living in those cities. What we care when we talk about the future of the cities, the future of the world, the well-being of the population is there. The population is living in cities. So the urban question, as Manuel Castel named it, is a very present issue and a topic. And I hope to contribute to this chapter from this specific knowledge and these specific barriers that the omitted subjects in planning needs to be elaborated and argued. So I hope that will be my contribution. And well, I hope to and I want to work on mainly three big paradoxes. Yeah? The first paradox I want to argue and to contribute to the chapter is related to the very promising indicators of Latin America. Again, according to ECLAC, the GDP grew in all the region. The formal work grew in the region. The conditions are much better. In addition, democratic processes are more continuous and stable and independent. And poverty decreases from, I want to give you the data, poverty diminished from 45.6% to 25.4%, which is amazing data in the last decade. But while in the promedia and in these promising indicators, economical indicators and income indicators, while they are very positive, when you close the eyes and the analysis to the women's situations in the cities, you will find that poverty increases in women. And this is a key situation in which I want to in deep related what is happening in urbanization, yeah, and linking the demographic transformations, the aging of societies, that in our cities, in our Latin American cities, is true in certain social groups. For instance, while poor woman, these poor women I'm talking about, the one that increase in poverty, which are mainly women-headed households. Yeah, 38% of those women in poverty are women-headed households, and I would say from that 38%, 43% of those are in indigency. And also, coming back to the socio-demographic transformations, I have to say that those poor women have more than twice the number of children of rich women. So, this combination of situation of fertilities, rate of fertility of women, where they live in the territory, which is their income and or economic situation, I think is an equation that is very, very important to consider if we want to see the barrier for a just urban society. This will be the first one. Yeah? While this society that seems to be growing, seems to be tackling poverty, yeah? and millions of people are coming out of poverty, is not seeing what happens with women-headed households or women in poverty. The second paradox I want to relate is to urban economy, yeah? Because there is an enormous contribution women do to urban economy, which is never highlighted. And we should ask how economists are measuring, yeah, the urban economy and this GDP of cities, yeah, how it is measured and how is considered this relationship about the productive and the reproductive world. What I want to say is, women, when you go to a closer analysis to what is happening with the economies in the cities, you will find that the economy of the cities in Latin America have grown. It have growth from 42 to 52%. Yeah? The late data of ECLAC again. But the majority of women are unemployed. The majority of the unemployed are women. And when you see where women are working, majority of women are working in the services, in services work. And if you go in deep, you will see that 71% of the domestic workers are women. And if you go in deeper, that 71% of women working in the domestic services, which is a very complex sphere of work, because you are working alone inside a household, inside a family, complexity, the majority or a high number are, according to countries, black or indigenous. So that is also, again, a new cross-cutting ethnical issue that we should consider. That means discrimination of women in the market of work. Yeah? So, and also, if you link again and complex the analysis, we will find that women in general, also women in my condition of privilege, we are poor in time. The more scarce good in our life is time. Yeah? We never have time. We have to do so many things, and all the studies that have been done by the National Institute of Statistics of Mexico, of Uruguay, of Brazil, etc., are showing a promedia of 22 hours of work of women more than men per week. Women in general, promedia, work much more hours per week than men, because women are taking the responsibility of all the domestic reproductive work that is caring for the childhood, caring for the youth, caring for the elderly, going to the crèche, to the school, to the health center, doing the management of the economy, doing etc., etc. Yeah? And all those time budget studies are very highlighting of the difference of being men and women in cities, the different way in which women and men live the territory in the neighborhoods and in the cities. Jane Jacobs in the 60s already was talking about this in New York, about the proximity of services, how important it is that women have the proximity, not only women, but in this precise case of the situation of the population, of the omitted subjects of planning in Latin America, that is the region I better know in the world, needs to be attended by urban planner, the policy decisors, by the social policies. I mean, the proximity in these extended cities of Latin America, in this huge, difficult to learn, to know these extended territories, segregated territories, fragmented territories of cities of richness, enormous richness, and enormous poorness. Poor situation that is not only a lack of income, but is lack of rights, lack of rights of security, lack of right of health, of education, of accessibility, of transportation, etc. These issues are the issues we need to link to this economy, urban economy, that means what women are contributing on what the city is offering to women or to this omitted subject, not only women. Yeah? So how do we reverse this uneven spatial distribution of the territory, as well as the supply of urban assets. And that is linked in how you use the territory, how you move in the territory. Yeah? How many hours will take you to go from your home to your work when you have work? Yeah? In cities like Mexico, DF, in cities like Rio de Janeiro, in cities like Sao Paulo, like Buenos Aires, where women go in the public transport, yeah, hours, yeah, sleeping in and being even violented in the public transport. We need to know that. We need to highlight more about all these barriers for social justice and link to the use of space and time and the care tasks, and to encourage more proximity and more efficient urban sustainability that will generate more autonomy for women. Yeah? But women are resistant to all that. They are not, women keep on working, recreating, doing politics, demonstrating in the street, even with all those barriers, yeah, that are barriers of discrimination, of injustice. And we need to know them, to work on them, to argue. Because if we want to look at the future, we need to really see how we contribute in that sense. The third big paradox has to do with planning. As I was saying to you, I'm trying to work on rethinking planning, yeah? And rethinking planning is linked with what I just said to you, related to the urban economy. Because we need to rethink planning vis-a-vis these conditions, these other two paradoxes, working and arguing on those two paradoxes, yeah? Because we need to promote a more inclusive thinking of planning and urban planning. Not only urban assets distribution, not only to guarantee accessibility, good and secure transportation, and there are a lot of programs and actions that we need to review and to see how they did work for those conditions and for those conditions of the population, the most poor population in Latin America and in the world. But also in our cities of Latin America, there is another dimension that we need to look, and that is security. Yeah? In the cities of Latin America, and all the surveys are showing that the population is worried more on security than on income, even in situations of poverty. Yeah? And that is one right, the right to live a life free of violence. Yeah? And that is a very important right for women, because violence won't be the same for men and women in the city. In the case of violence in the cities, the bodies of women will be always part of something that, just because you are a woman, no matter social sector, no matter where, in which territory of the city you live, no matter ages, or whatever, the body can be harassed by others that think they have a right on your body just because you are a woman. So that violence is meaning another new emerging urban problem that we need to tackle. What to do vis-a-vis that situation. The real criminality and violence that women live, and also that criminality and violence women perceive in cities, in the public spaces, and the consequences that can have in the advances of the human rights of women and the omitted subjects of the society, because not only women, but the ones with sexual options, the black people, the indigenous, all those discriminated in the society, particularly youth, men and women. Yeah, so we need to abort that dimension. Yeah, and that is a dimension that will imply planning, policies, knowledge. We need to produce knowledge. So we need to have a close analysis and to contribute with arguments, with new arguments, and with new topics to really tackle these barriers for the future of a more just world, where we have to include all these subjects, yeah, all these omitted subjects of the society. And then, well, we hope to contribute with some cases. We have to think how we use some cases, maybe some cases of policies, like, for instance, all those instruments like the plus value of the land, yeah, how it is reverted, or in public and in social investing, favoring those sectors, for instance, having more proximity services of child care centers, or with a range of hours that is more propitious, so women can work, yeah, and can be more autonomous of those reproductive tasks, and childhood is well care, or the elderly center, care daily center for elderly people, or better transportation, or new policies, alternative policies that could be slowly the transformation of this stereotype that means the difference of being women or men in society, and thus the difference of being men or women in the urban terrain, in the urban domain. Yeah, it's more or less that those the paradox and the topics I would like to contribute, and I hope that maybe we can do good synergies with the people that is working the chapters on gender and violence, because I think we have a lot in common that we could work in synergies and in mutual contributions. So that is also linked, and I want to make this point, to something we need to insist, that is the lack of data. We need more data disaggregated by sex. We need to have more accurate information. We need to work to disaggregate the topics more specifically. Yeah? So really we have arguments that can be built in a more solid way, backed by good data information. And nowadays, and because of the work of women and because of the work of the feminists, I will say, we have more information, and even the states' statistical institutions are each day having much and more accurate data. But in urban index, the urban construction of observatories, index, etc., still lack of this important differentiation of men and women when they address to the urban topics in the territory. And we need to know, we need to have more data, and that is very important so we can move forward in this, in working against these barriers, yeah? And I think also that we need to work cases of study, yeah? Cases whose speech could be the microphysics of the territory. That means the microconstruction of the relationships between the the people, the persons, the different persons in the territory, in the communities, in the neighborhoods, in the cities. And also how to take advantages, as Saskia Sassen says, of the capacities of the urban space. The urban space has capacities. How to take advantages of that? Because those advantages also meant the empowerment of women and the women voices in the urban space, yeah? Which is not less. And we have to work out that also to make it louder. In Latin America, women are, for instance, the most active in mobilizations against corruption. And you know why? Because women are very clear that corruption reduces the capacities of government to give responses to their needs and their demands. And they know that if the money goes through corruptions, they will have less child care center, less services, less paved road, less lighting, etc., etc. That means better quality of life. Very simple. Better quality of life, yeah? Mm-hmm. Feeling more secure and living more powerful the urban territory, you know? So we need to give more arguments, more solid arguments, to collaborate to those women's voices that are growing strong from communities and neighborhoods every day. To make that voices to louder, even louder. I think this is a very good idea. I mean, it's a very good idea because it's putting many people to think all together. And that is fantastic. I mean, to think in the future of what is the world is evident. It's an empirical evidence. We cannot, be blind to the enormous transformation of the world by the hand of the globalization, by the hand of the technology, by etc., etc. And there are a lot of black holes, as we said today in our group. Black holes in how to tackle those barriers that are bringing a world of enormous inequalities. I'm always saying that in Latin America, and particularly from my field, that are cities and territories and housing and services, we have an obscene inequality, absolutely obscene, where so few have so much and so many have so less. So how to tackle that? We need to think in which should be the drivers for such a transformation. Really, this is a fantastic initiative, and this is a fantastic initiative where the men, the best thinkers of the social policies in the world, to have Amartya Sen as the president of the honorific committee. I mean, and to have him, his speech and his contribution, his reflection, to be in a group with Saskia Sassen is, I feel honored. I feel very honored, and I hope to be able to contribute and also to transfer all this experience and these various entrances, this multidisciplinary, and I think that is very interesting, multidisciplinary group from also multi-entrance of analysis to the universities and the groups I'm working, the network of academics and feminists and different groups in Latin America. Also, I'm a bit, I think this is a fantastic initiative, and I wonder, and I think we need to have more Latin Americans in, and I'm going to propose some names because I think we are very few, And I'm convinced that Latin America has a lot to contribute, yeah, from the experience we did in these last 3 decades, at least. There is an enormous reflection in several issues and topics that are convergent to this call of IPSP. So I think this is very good. It's simply that. It's very good, and hope that we could also do some subgroups that will take this discussion to other territories in the world, so we can enlarge, make a critical mass of this process of the IPSP. As a closing remark, I will say that I welcome this initiative. I welcome very strongly to be inside, and I hope that this process, because this is a process, we are just starting to put on some ideas in consensus, and of course we have fantastic coordinators that will do the heavy job, and I hope this process will be enlarged with other processes of networks and thinking on the big challenges of these times of the world, because now there is the debate on the ODS, and I think we should also try to link the ODS to our different chapters. And in the case of the chapter I am involved, in the chapter of urban issues, we have one that is very closely related, and it will be interesting also to contribute from that way to that debate. It's not easy, and we need also to gather other voices, not only the academia, the politicians, the technicians, but the voices of the communities. And I am particularly interested in the replication, the echo, and the contribution of the women's voices, because women in Latin America are very active in the demand of their social policies. So I think this is a great opportunity. Hope we take good advantage of it.